Our journey begins not in the distant cosmos, but here on Earth, on a dusty plateau in central China. Near the ancient city of Xi'an, dozens of enormous earth-covered mounds rise from the landscape. For centuries, they were dismissed as natural hills, shrouded in mist and local legend. But these are no ordinary hills. They are pyramids, tombs of emperors and nobles from dynasties long past. Yet the story whispered among a few curious scientists and intelligence agencies is not just one of archaeology. It is a story of physics, of strange energies, and of phenomena that defy our conventional understanding of the ancient world. The secrets here are not just buried, they seem to be actively humming with a hidden power. It all started with whispers, fragments of data that didn't quite fit. Declassified CIA reports from the Cold War era, originally focused on monitoring the region for other reasons, noted peculiar thermal anomalies. Satellite imagery, designed to detect hidden military installations, kept picking up faint but persistent heat signatures emanating from the largest of these pyramids, the Mauling Mausoleum. This heat wasn't consistent with geothermal activity or solar radiation. It pulsed subtly in a rhythmic pattern, like a sleeping giant's breath. It was a technological fingerprint where none should exist, a ghost in the machine of our planetary surveillance systems, hinting that something deep beneath the Earth was generating its own inexplicable warmth. These thermal puzzles were soon joined by magnetic ones. Scientific teams surveying the area for geological resources reported bizarre magnetic fluctuations. Their compasses would spin erratically near the pyramids, and sensitive magnetometers recorded spikes of magnetism that were orders of magnitude stronger than the Earth's natural field. These spikes were not random. They appeared to follow a complex, repeating sequence, almost like a code being broadcast from below. It was as if the pyramids were not just passive structures of rammed earth and clay, but were instead immense magnetic engines, built for a purpose we could not yet fathom. The data was so strange, so out of place, that it was often dismissed as equipment malfunction. But the locals knew. They had known for generations. They spoke of the mounds with a mixture of reverence and fear, telling stories passed down through countless families. They warned against getting too close after dark, speaking of a strange feeling in the air, a palpable energy that made the hair on your arms stand up. They called it Qi, the life force of the land, but described it in ways that sounded remarkably like an electromagnetic field. These were not just folk tales. They were eyewitness accounts, a human record of the same strange forces that our most advanced satellites and sensors were just beginning to detect from afar. The whispers were getting louder. The anomalies were not confined to scientific instruments. They bled into the everyday lives of the people living in the shadow of these silent giants. Farmers and villagers living in the small communities dotting the plains around Xi'an began to share stories of a phenomenon they called the ghost hour. It was a specific time, just after midnight, when the world seemed to momentarily glitch. It was a modern problem layered atop an ancient mystery. Suddenly, and without any discernible cause, digital watches would reset to 12 o'clock. Cell phone alarms, set for the morning, would all sound at once in a dissonant, electronic chorus that echoed across the quiet fields. This wasn't a rare occurrence. It became a predictable, almost nightly event in certain areas. Imagine the confusion. One moment you are asleep, the next, your home is filled with the jarring sound of every digital alarm you own, all screaming in unison. People tried everything to stop it. They bought new devices, they switched brands, they even tried turning everything off completely before bed. But the ghost hour persisted, a strange technological poltergeist that seemed to emanate from the Earth itself. It was as if a powerful, localized electromagnetic pulse was sweeping through the valley each night, a pulse strong enough to interfere with modern electronics, but too focused to be detected by regional power grids. The phenomenon became a local legend, a quirky inconvenience that families learned to live with. Some joked about it, blaming the spirits of the ancient emperors buried nearby. Others felt a deeper unease, a sense that they were living next to something powerful and unknown. The ghost hour was more than just a nuisance. It was a clue. It suggested that whatever was happening at the pyramids was not a constant, steady force. Instead, it was cyclical, peaking in intensity at a specific time. This regularity hinted at a deliberate mechanical process, like a machine running on a timer, performing some unknown function in the dead of night. This strange intersection of ancient structures and modern technology provided a new kind of evidence. It was anecdotal, yes, but it was also widespread and consistent. While scientists were puzzling over heat maps and magnetic charts, the people of Xi'an were experiencing the effects directly. Their digital clocks and phones had become unintentional detectors, simple instruments registering the nightly pulse of the pyramids. The ghost hour was a powerful reminder that the forces at play here were not just abstract concepts on a computer screen. They were real, tangible, and powerful enough to reach into people's homes and, for a brief moment, reset their perception of time itself. As technology advanced, so did our ability to probe these mysteries. In the 21st century, teams of researchers, operating both officially and unofficially, turned to a new generation of tools. They sent sophisticated drones, equipped with high-resolution cameras and ground-penetrating radar, to fly in precise patterns over the pyramid fields. The hope was to create a detailed, three-dimensional map of what lay beneath the packed earth. But the pyramids seemed to resist. Drones would suddenly lose contact with their operators, their navigation systems going haywire as they flew over the apex of the larger mounds. Some would crash, while others would have their memory cards wiped clean, the precious data they collected inexplicably erased. The data that did survive was tantalizing and deeply strange. The ground-penetrating radar scans, which should have revealed burial chambers, passageways, and artifacts, instead showed something baffling. In many of the pyramids, the radar signals could not penetrate beyond a certain depth. It was as if they were hitting a wall, an impenetrable barrier that absorbed or deflected the radar waves completely. This wasn't just dense earth or rock. The readings were unlike anything seen in standard geological surveys. It was a layer of something that, for all intents and purposes, was invisible to our technology, a shield hiding whatever lay deeper within. These technological failures and impenetrable barriers only fueled the mystery. Official archaeological teams, under strict government oversight, conducted limited excavations on some of the smaller surrounding tombs. The reports they released were sparse, speaking of standard burial goods and royal artifacts, consistent with what one would expect from the Han Dynasty. But whispers from inside these projects told a different story. Rumors circulated of strange metals that resisted analysis, of tunnels that seemed to lead deep into the earth before being deliberately sealed, and of artifacts that were quickly whisked away for classified study, never to be seen or published again. The official narrative was clear. These are tombs, and to preserve their cultural heritage, the main mausoleums will remain sealed. This stance, while publicly presented as an act of preservation, also served as a convenient way to control the flow of information. It created a cordon of silence around the most anomalous sites. But for those who had seen the drone data, the radar walls, and the fragmented reports of strange materials, the official explanation felt incomplete. The effort to hide what was found seemed just as significant as the discoveries themselves. It suggested that the authorities had found something they couldn't explain, or perhaps something they didn't want the world to know. The chasm between the official story and the accumulating evidence grew wider with each passing year. The Chinese government has maintained a firm and consistent position. The Great Pyramids, especially the colossal Maoling Mausoleum, are the sacred resting places of emperors. They argue that current excavation technology is not advanced enough to safely enter and preserve the treasures within, citing the rapid decay of the terracotta army upon its exposure to air as a cautionary tale. On the surface, this is a reasonable and responsible archaeological stance. It frames the lack of exploration as an act of profound respect for the past, a promise to protect these wonders for future generations. However, behind this veil of cultural preservation, a different kind of activity was taking place. Unmarked military trucks were often seen on the roads leading to the restricted zones around the pyramids, usually at night. Local villagers reported seeing teams of personnel, not in the khaki vests of archaeologists, but in the sterile white suits of scientists or the uniforms of military engineers. These were not teams equipped with brushes and trowels. They carried sophisticated electronic equipment, drilling rigs, and sensor arrays. This clandestine activity suggested that the government's interest was not purely historical. They were investigating something, and they were doing it with an urgency and secrecy that belied their patient public statements. This official silence created a vacuum, and into that vacuum rushed a global community of independent researchers, scientists, and amateur investigators. Using commercially available satellite data, open-source geological surveys, and leaked information, they began to piece together a different picture. They cross-referenced the reported magnetic spikes with solar flare activity, finding no correlation. They analyzed the thermal patterns, noting that they intensified during specific celestial alignments. This scattered, decentralized network of curious minds was effectively crowdsourcing a solution to a mystery that official channels refused to acknowledge, building a case file that grew more compelling with every new piece of data. What emerged from this unofficial investigation was a stunning hypothesis. The pyramids were not just being protected, they were being monitored. The official hands-off policy was not about preserving the past, but about containing the present. The secrecy, the military presence, the strange scientific activity, it all pointed to the conclusion that the Chinese authorities had discovered something at Xi'an that was far beyond the scope of archaeology. They were not guarding a tomb. They were managing a phenomenon, an active and unpredictable force that they were studying, and perhaps even struggling to understand in secret. The truth was not being buried, it was being actively contained. Let's step back for a moment and look at the bigger picture. When you map the locations of the more than 200 pyramids scattered across the plains of Xi'an, a pattern begins to emerge. It's not a random distribution. The placement of these massive structures appears deliberate, precise, and deeply familiar to anyone who has looked up at the night sky. Certain clusters of pyramids mirror, with stunning accuracy, the layout of constellations. The three largest pyramids, for instance, align perfectly with the stars in Orion's belt, a celestial arrangement famously echoed in the pyramids of Giza. But the connections at Xi'an are even more extensive. Other groupings match the stars of constellations like Draco and Cygnus, particularly as they would have appeared in the sky thousands of years ago. This is not a coincidence. This is a message, written in the language of architecture and astronomy. The ancient builders were not just erecting tombs, they were creating a terrestrial star map, a mirror of the cosmos on Earth. This celestial alignment forces us to ask a profound question: why? Why go to such immense effort to replicate the heavens on the ground? Was it merely symbolic, a way for the emperors to connect their eternal rest with the eternal stars? Or was it something more? The evidence for a more technological purpose is compelling, and honestly, it grows stronger with modern analysis. Researchers have discovered that the pyramids are connected by what appear to be subtle, underground channels that emit faint harmonic resonances. When sensitive audio equipment is placed on the pyramids, it detects a low-frequency hum, a sound below the range of human hearing. What's astonishing is that the frequencies of these hums are mathematically related. Different pyramids resonate at different frequencies, but they are all harmonics of a single fundamental tone. The entire complex seems to be tuned, like a massive musical instrument, or, more accurately, an enormous resonance circuit. This is where the idea of a purely symbolic structure begins to crumble. The precise celestial alignment, combined with evidence of a tuned, resonant system, points toward a functional design. The layout is not just a picture of the stars. It may be a blueprint that uses the positions of those stars for a specific purpose. Could the pyramids be designed to receive or transmit some form of energy, focused by their alignment with specific points in the cosmos? The evidence suggests we are not looking at a cemetery. We are looking at a machine, and the star map is its instruction manual. If the pyramid field is a machine, what kind of machine is it? Let's look closer at the layout, not as a star map, but as a schematic. When you trace the lines of magnetic intensity and the resonant underground channels between the pyramids, the pattern that emerges is not just astronomical. It looks, honestly, remarkably like a modern electronic circuit board. The larger pyramids act like primary nodes or capacitors, storing and discharging energy. The smaller mounds function as resistors or transistors, regulating the flow. The invisible lines of force connecting them serve as the wiring, guiding the energy along specific pathways. This circuit board hypothesis is supported by the materials found in and around the structures. Core samples, taken secretly from some of the smaller pyramids, have revealed unusual properties. The rammed earth is mixed with a high concentration of metallic powders, particularly iron oxide and crystalline quartz. This specific combination is known in modern science for its piezoelectric and conductive properties. In essence, the pyramids are built from a material that can generate an electric charge in response to mechanical stress and can also conduct and store energy. They are, in their very substance, electronic components on a gargantuan scale. The design appears to be functional. The entire complex is oriented along a north-south axis, aligned with the Earth's magnetic field. This would allow it to interact with our planet's magnetosphere, potentially drawing energy from it or using it to stabilize its own field. The strange rhythmic pulses of heat and magnetism detected by satellites could be the signature of this machine in operation, performing a cycle, perhaps powering up and down. This isn't the work of a simple agrarian society building a monument. It is the work of a culture with a profound and applied understanding of physics, one that we are only now beginning to recognize. What could such a device be for? The circuit board layout suggests a system for processing information or managing energy on a planetary scale. Perhaps it was a communication device, designed to send a message to the stars it so perfectly mirrors. Or maybe it was a power plant, harnessing geothermal and cosmic energies for a purpose we can no longer remember. Whatever its function, viewing the Xi'an complex as a giant circuit board transforms our understanding of it. It ceases to be a relic of the past and becomes a piece of dormant and perhaps still functional technology. The mystery of Xi'an deepens as we move from the technologies that see light and magnetism to those that can detect the very fabric of space-time. In recent years, a revolutionary new tool has allowed us to listen to the universe in a new way: gravitational wave astronomy. These instruments, like LIGO and Virgo, are designed to detect the infinitesimal ripples in space-time caused by cataclysmic cosmic events, like the merging of two black holes billions of light-years away. They are the most sensitive physical detectors ever built by humanity. And they have detected something strange, something much closer to home. In a series of coordinated experiments, portable quantum sensors and gravimeters were deployed near the Xi'an pyramids. These devices measure minute variations in the local gravitational field. The initial goal was to create a high-resolution gravity map of the area to infer the density of the Earth below. The results were baffling. The sensors registered gravitational anomalies that could not be explained by the visible pyramids or the known geology of the region. There were pockets of gravitational intensity, points where gravity was slightly stronger, that seemed to emanate from deep beneath the largest pyramids. Even more astonishing were the transient signals. The sensitive instruments detected faint, periodic ripples in the local gravitational field, tiny gravitational waves. These were not the echoes of distant cosmic collisions. Their source was localized, terrestrial, and directly beneath the pyramid field. It was as if something unimaginably massive and dense was periodically shifting or vibrating deep within the Earth. The signals were rhythmic, matching the same cycle as the thermal and magnetic pulses. It was another layer of evidence, this time written in the language of general relativity, pointing to a dynamic, active process unfolding in secret under our feet. The implications of this discovery are staggering. To generate detectable gravitational waves, even on this small scale, requires the movement of an object with immense mass or energy density. No known geological process can account for this. It suggests the presence of something exotic, something that belongs in the realm of high-energy physics, not archaeology. The pyramids, with their circuit board layout and celestial alignments, appear to be situated directly on top of this gravitational anomaly. This proximity cannot be a coincidence. It raises the chilling possibility that the pyramids were built there for a reason, to interact with, monitor, or perhaps even control this profound disturbance in space-time. What could possibly be massive enough to warp gravity and yet remain completely unseen? The data points to one of the most exotic and mysterious concepts in all of physics: a black hole. Not the supermassive giants at the centers of galaxies, but something much smaller and much, much closer. The theory of primordial black holes suggests that in the chaotic moments after the Big Bang, tiny, microscopic black holes could have formed. These objects, perhaps no larger than a grain of sand but containing the mass of a mountain or an asteroid, could have been captured by Earth's gravity and settled deep within its crust or mantle over billions of years. This hypothesis, as wild as it sounds, fits the evidence from Xi'an with unnerving precision. A micro-black hole, oscillating or interacting with surrounding matter, would generate the exact kind of localized heat, magnetic fields, and gravitational waves that have been detected. It would be a point of extreme density, which would explain why ground-penetrating radar cannot see past a certain depth. The intense gravity would absorb or distort the signals. The animal behavior, the strange migrations and agitation reported by locals for centuries, could be a biological response to the subtle gravitational and electromagnetic shifts that precede a geological event. But in this case, the event is the constant rhythmic pulse of this unseen mass. If there is a micro black hole or several beneath the plains of Xi'an, then the pyramids are cast in a completely new light. They are no longer tombs or even simple machines. They are containment systems. They are technological guardians built around a phenomenon of unimaginable power. The celestial alignments would ensure the system is oriented correctly relative to galactic forces. The circuit board of pyramids would be designed to manage the immense energy leaking from the singularity, perhaps stabilizing it, drawing power from it, or shielding the surface from its more dangerous effects. The nightly ghost hour could be a daily maintenance or venting cycle for this cosmic prison. This idea transforms the ancient emperors from rulers into something far more significant. They were custodians. They were the keepers of a secret and a responsibility passed down through generations. Their tombs were not built to glorify their deaths, but to mark and maintain the technology that contained this cosmic anomaly. They were not buried with their treasures. They were buried at their posts, eternal sentinels watching over a force that could, if left unchecked, pose a threat to the entire planet. The pyramids are not a monument to death, but a testament to a long-forgotten duty of cosmic importance. We stand at a crossroads of history and physics, looking at these silent, earth-covered mounds. For centuries, we saw them as tombs, relics of a bygone era. Now, our most advanced instruments tell us a different story. They speak of heat where there should be none, of magnetic fields that behave like a code, and of gravitational echoes from an unseen, impossibly dense object. The evidence invites us to ask a new set of questions, questions that challenge our place in the universe and our understanding of the past. What is truly hidden beneath the loess of Xi'an? The answer to that question could rewrite everything we think we know. If the pyramids are a containment system for a primordial black hole, it means an ancient civilization possessed a knowledge of physics that rivals or even surpasses our own. It would mean that human history is intertwined with cosmic phenomena in a way we never dared to imagine. Solving this mystery would not just be an archaeological triumph, it would be a revolution in science, forcing us to reconsider the laws of nature and the capabilities of those who came before us. The secrets of Xi'an are not just about China's past, they are about humanity's past, and perhaps its future. We are left with the ultimate question. What was the purpose of this immense ancient machine? Was it a tomb, built to honor the dead with a celestial map? Was it a beacon, a communication device designed to signal our existence to the civilizations of the stars it so carefully mirrors? Or was it something far more serious, far more vital? Was it a cage? An elaborate and sophisticated system built to contain a force of nature so powerful that it had to be managed, controlled, and hidden from the world? A cage whose bars are made of pyramids and whose lock is a secret we have yet to decipher. The pyramids of Xi'an remain silent, keeping their secrets, but they are no longer just sleeping. We can now see the faint pulse of the machine, hear the faint echoes from its depths. For now, we can only watch and wonder and continue to listen. The truth is down there, waiting, and uncovering it might not just tell us about who we were, but reveal what our universe is truly capable of. The greatest discoveries often begin with the courage to look at something old and ask a new question. What is hidden beneath the loess may be stranger and more wonderful than we can possibly imagine.